Fucking tread on me.
Thought we were testing it.
Fucking treading on my line. Already, this is already a shit show.
Okay.
Right, so we've started recording.
Nervous, Miles. I'm nervous.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
Yeah.
The first L Premium or Primo. Primus. Whatever that's my pig Latin is bad.
And welcome to the show. Right, so it's me and Max.
Who are you though? Who are you? Like fucking hell, Miles.
I'm Miles. Yeah, of course everybody knows. You might be watching. You might be watching this on my channel. You might be watching on Max's. We're not really sure right now. This is a very new thing to the both of us that we're muddling our way through as we go along. So it's I guess you could call, if we're being kind, an evolving platform.
That is very kind. It's very kind. But it's like we've got to say it just to cover our own backs, I suppose.
Yeah. Hey.
What the hell are we doing, Miles? What the hell are we doing?
What are we doing? Well, we met actually donkeys years ago at one of the Horse Heresy weekenders, and at these kind of things, you bump into so many people that it just goes by in a flash. And you say, "Yeah, I'll catch up with you," in Facebook Messenger or whatever, and you don't talk to them for years until the next event. Well, it just so happened we both went to Adepitcon, and when you get a bunch of people together, a bunch of old heresy heads especially, you start talking about the good old days. Like, yeah, you know what it's like when you get a bunch of like middle-aged white guys together who've had a bit too much to drink. They say, "Let's start a podcast." So that's what we're doing.
Is that the evolution of like, let's start a bar?
Yeah, it's
like,
let's start.
No longer let's start a bar.
Let's start a bar. Let's start a podcast, or get really deep into World War I history and argue about it.
I think that's when you reach like sort of mid-30s. Is the getting really into World War I history.
Yeah, so this is our equivalent of getting really into World War I history. We're going to start something where every month, initially, we're going to have a roundup of everything that's happened, every significant thing that's happened in the Warhammer community, anything noteworthy event that we want to talk about, chat to each other with, and hopefully present it on such a platform that's palatable to people and won't get demonetized on YouTube or like pushed off to the side via the algorithm. Do we have to introduce ourselves? Do we really need to do that?
No, I don't think so. I think I was just trying to put pressure on you. I think one other thing that we sort of wanted to do, but I mean, I'm going to force this on you now, whether you like it or not, but is like, I'm going to phrase this in a ridiculous way, and then I'm going to say what we actually want. So we want to make it all about us, and soon talking about what we're doing. And it's, no, in a non.
I don't care about the community. You guys can get your own thing. You can have your own midlife crisis available to the public.
That is what this really is, right? So, what we sort of want to fucking phone, not on silent.
I'm not editing this out.
No, it stays in. So, there's almost this disconnect between we both create content, right? You've got your painting videos, tutorials, things like that you do. I'm doing a game. I've got my gaming channel, but there's a disconnect between when we release stuff and what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think this will give us something that we can show and talk about what we're literally doing on a day-to-day basis. So what is currently on our painting desk, and what, say like, for me, what I've been struggling with painting and how Miles can help with that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That then will hopefully give topics for everyone watching this at home, something that just has sprung out of random crap that we've been doing.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the time I spend on my own presenting work to, so it's a one-way conversation. It's nice to actually talk to another human being. So instead of
serial killer monologue.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of having a miniature and talking about how to do like contour highlighting.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that smooth transition.
Look at this smooth transition. Yeah.
I wasn't meaning on the model, I was meaning the video. Like, there's going to be none of that from my side at the moment.
You like that? Instead of like talking to myself about contour highlighting and saturation points, I go like, that red's nice. Like, yeah, this is how I did it. It's a lot more it's like how actual human beings speak to each other, which I'm really, really dead for.
Well, then I can organically ask, what the fuck is contour highlighting, Miles?
Yeah, and then we can have a big, long argument conversation about it.
No, I'm actually asking you what is
contour highlighting. So they did this a lot back in the 70s for like... so when... Death Wish, you've seen Death Wish, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of that movie spent at night with is it Brosnan? God, what's the main actor's name? Who's Mr. Deathwish?
Swiftly googling.
Yeah, so Mr. Deathwish, when he's walking around the streets blowing away bad guys, if you filmed it as it was, like a lot of of Brosnan, I think his name's Brosnan.
Yeah, Charles Brosnan.
Charles Brosnan would be left in shadow. You wouldn't be able to see a lot of the features of the face. Like if I move away, if I blank this out, like most of the face, most of the screen would just be left in shadow. But contour highlighting, so you have, I don't know, like an off-camera explosion, or you can have like a light, a street light, that's the word I was looking for, and it illuminates that part of him that would otherwise just be completely sunk into shadow, and that's what this does. So it's
like how the Cursed City set was like sort of marketed with that black and white style that then had the we didn't even set that up, Christ. Oh god,
smooth. Yeah, exactly, and that's how I've painted this entire set, with that like very strong directional highlighting. And the great thing about doing this, you only have to paint 2/3 of the miniature. You don't need to paint the entire thing.
And for everyone else at home, like me, that isn't Miles, you could just paint it white and then blast it with some red at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you could have a fabulous looking miniature like this.
So that's what you could do with an airbrush. Just blast it red, black from above, white, and then block in details. And that's what I was doing here, showing a student what atmospheric and contour highlighting does. But anyway, we're not here. Oh,
well,
go
that
ahead.
segment, we could do it as a regular called painting red and no other colours.
Painting red and no other colours, or
exactly.
How do I?
And every week it's just like I painted this model. And it's
what's a brush?
Black,
yeah,
and then
something like
red
that.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
What's on the menu this week, anyway, Miles?
What's on the menu this week?
So I'm going to act like I'm professional and lead you back into the topic.
Thank you very much. So this week we have just come off the back of Warhammer Fest, arguably the biggest event in the Warhammer calendar. Celebrates all things Warhammer. Everybody piles up to Manchester, and they go through reveals. Why am I telling you like you don't know what Warhammer Fest is? You go through like this funnel system, right? You have to be interested in Warhammer to begin with, then you have to get interested in really niche aspects of Warhammer, then you eventually end up with us. Of course, why am I presenting what the hell Warhammer Fest is? You can see up on the screen, what we're going to do is trawl through our favourite aspects of Warhammer Fest, talk about the releases, and then round it up in a nice little bow and release it out. So Max, your overall impressions viewing from afar of Warhammer Fest, what do you think of it? What do you think? Big thumbs up? Big
of the actual fest. Do you know the fest? I think. I didn't want to start on a negative note. Miles, asked me a different one.
We start low.
Genuinely,
we start low and we go high.
It wasn't a games day, and I think I'd over-egged myself to be expecting a games day. Mm-hmm. And I'd just come off Adepitcon, right? As we said, like we got back in touch basically at Adepitcon a month ago. It wasn't Adepticon. It was Games Workshop's, obviously flagged like their event, and they'd recently taken out all the studio painters and stuff that you could normally talk to, and they didn't replace it with anything. Now, that took away from the event a bit. However, what ends up happening, like at a lot of gaming events, is it's for the people. So you just end up talking to loads of people, and that is really fun. So it's this sort of weird thing that it's this organised event. Everyone is there that loves the same thing, but my enjoyment of it wasn't based around what actually Games Workshop had provided. It was, I think a lot of us find it at gaming events, right, and other meetups. You actually enjoy them. It's an excuse to go and meet people, talk to people with the same hobby as you.
It's a chance to socialise.
So that I think is the lead off. Because you didn't manage to make it up, did you?
No. So I'm only observing this from the outside in, and from what I've seen from the Twitter sphere, is that people are calling it Q Fest. There's quite a lot of queuing on the first day, and like you said, it's almost set up like a trade show, a little bit like Salute or Adepticon, but there's only one trader there or IP licensed products. And that's a recurring thing I keep hearing. It's not so much what Games Workshop put on that they enjoyed. It's the community members that made it what it was. It was the creators. It was the cosplayers. It was those details outside of Games Workshop's planning. But like I said, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to it. A big problem I always have at these events is Golden Demon. It's such an iconic competition, right? Adepticon, I love going to watch Golden Demon at Adepticon because you can go down at any time, day or night. The best time to view Golden Demon is around 3 o'clock in the morning, because as a Brit, you're up anyway because of jet lag. By 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody's around, and you have the entire cabinet to yourself. And unfortunately, I didn't seem to get that. There aren't many pictures appearing of entrants, or it seemed very crowded around those areas.
So there was, I'd say, like 4 people deep around the entirety of Golden Demon all the time that I've been there. And that actually just shows how popular it was. And what I will say, obviously, as we're filming this now on Sunday, is it Sunday today?
Sunday evening, yeah. Sunday 9:55.
To put an exact.
To be exact, 21:55.
So so there's still another day, and the Golden Demon entries aren't like obviously judged till tomorrow, but the painting standard was really, really good.
Yeah. And
the buzz of people just moving around it. So even the fact that there were so many people creates that buzz. And do you know what? I was actually blown away with a lot of the entries this year. Like, Adepticon was really good, really, really good. And but I think the depth of field that they've had at Fest this year, there was easily double, triple.
Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it? I wonder whether Golden Demon is going to change in the next few years because of the level of entrants that are participating right now. These are people flying in from all over Europe and America, and like the hotbed of the hobby here. And you're just seeing the level of art and expertise come out. It seems a little unfair to give only 3 awards per category, because the level's mind-blowing. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. But we'll have more during the week. We'll have higher definition pictures through Warhammer Community. But for right now, why don't we talk about the reveals? And let's talk about the first one, shall we? So we got the first biggest one was Leviathan. Just scrolling through this now. So we've got 25 Space Marines miniatures, 47 Tyranid miniatures, an exclusive Warhammer 40k Leviathan rulebook, chapter approved mission deck, and Space Marine transfer sheet. That is going to be an absolute show to try and get if the line's anything to go by. I promise I will cheer up with this because the box set itself looks amazing, right? It looks, those Terminators.
Yeah, incredible. When they were shown at Adepticon, everyone went crazy. And it's, do you know what? I don't even know whether people went crazy because they did the show at like 10 o'clock in the morning and everyone was at the gate. Loads of people were gaming and I wasn't in there.
I think a lot of people had trouble getting in, but from the hype models around it. Yeah,
mate, insane. I think he's a really good revitalization of the Terminator models. I know they're in bigger scale, but I'm just going to throw those into my Heresy Army as Dominus Terminators.
Why not? They were available.
Yeah, well, there's rules for them in the Legacies. Yeah. They've got, let's say, I'm going to change out the Storm Bolter for a Combi Bolter. So it interests me as a Heresy player. And it's just really, really nice. My
Praetor miniature for my Sons of Horus Force, he was made from Lugfoot Huron, which is Indomitus plate.
Yeah.
So if you really did want to put the effort into converting these over to Cataphracti, you can. But Indomitus plate was available in the Horus Heresy, limited numbers as far as I understand, but it was still available there. And just looking at the Captain miniature, let's scrolling down this Captain miniature. He's Agamon, which is he's been the first company captain for quite a while now, and before he had a dual blaster plasma pistol thing, and he fought against the Tyranids on Macragge.
Was he like one of the first company captains at Macragge when?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I think so. I think it's the same guy. As they painted him up, I think he is just a generic captain, but but I seem to remember them mentioning he's Agamon somewhere. But what I love about these Terminators kits is that with the Primaris kits, it felt like they tried to reinvent something that wasn't broken. They were trying to fix something that wasn't broken.
Yeah.
It feels like they're going back to that design ethos of making the Space Marines look like a mailed fist. Like, they haven't got the sleek, sexy lines. They're big, bulky, weighty, and inevitable.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. Nice talk there.
Oh.
Nice talk. Listen.
You talk good.
Yeah. You talk really good, Miles. No, I agree. It's see, I was going to say it's got the derpiness that I love from those old.
Yeah.
Like you can aim all of yours like up here, and I'll just like get the low hanging fruit.
Sure. Yeah. You pluck that fruit.
Awesome. Like derp.
I mean, so you look behind me. I've got the second edition Blood Angel army. Like, when you think of the dynamics and physics of a power fist, of how just dumb it is, but it screams out to like that inner 8-year-old boy in you, right? It looks cool, and these Terminators look cool levels. So the last iteration of the Terminators, they almost look like they were disco dancing. But these, they have like a genuine weight to them. They're pounding forward towards you.
Have you read Mark of Calth, where
I have.
They got the description of the Terminator and how you fight in Terminator armor? It's just constantly moving forwards, and if you stop, the enemy can overwhelm you.
Yeah.
But if you just keep moving, there is nothing that can end up hurting you really.
Yeah.
Because you've got that weight behind you. And I think it lends it into that. Like, he's got this slightly forward pose. It's got, and he's doing something as well. I think there's some nice lines in this Captain model.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing that I tend to look like that. I think a lot of us look for is what are the lines like in the actual base structure of the model.
Yeah.
Rather
and what's great about this is not overly clustered either. It's because the last box set, the Captain, the guy with the power sword and shield, he was just festooned in stuff. You need that negative space to let your eye almost like breathe. Which I think
was that the guy with his like helm up?
Yeah, and he had like the corpse on the front.
But the one thing is, I love that helmet.
Insane miniature, but it's I've never enjoyed painting him because it didn't feel like I could impress my own sense of like light source on him, because there's just so much detail all clustered on top of each other. But with this nice clean open lines, leaves your eye relaxed, and you can just like you say, really good clean lines on the miniature. Terminator we've seen previewed before. The Apothecary, I want to skip over a couple of these.
So is that we're going past the Librarian?
Going past the Librarian, going past the Apothecary. Sorry.
Have we seen the Apothecary before?
No, we haven't. Do you want
you skip past that?
No, let's talk about him.
Very fast, right? It just it doesn't have to be a long time.
Sure.
I love like the tools on. I know we're just saying don't over detail the model, but I really like the inclusion of the tools on the like what's it called, like the dick pelt.
The dick, well, that's the name now. Yeah, tabard. Dick pelt, tabard. I prefer. Yeah. Dick towel.
I like that. I like the servo arms that he's got. Like, really good, and the gene seed like Storium or whatever you call it.
Do you know what I really appreciate about this miniature as well? Because the last Primaris Apothecary was holding the progenoid gland in his hand, looking at it. Now, what other battlefield medic do you think would pick it up like, oh, this looks like it could become infected? No, he's torn it away. He's sealed it up straight away. He's not messing around.
This is a guy that actually does his job properly.
This is a guy who's been trained properly, yeah.
And it's got big open spaces for you to do your sick blends, Miles.
Big open space, big nice volumes to develop light and shadow, because light reveals form. Yeah, how about
so there
that?
we go. We can skip over to.
We can skip over him.
Heart's Content.
Talking about detail, Lieutenant in Phobos armor. We got the guy. I think in the preview they described him as a survivor of a drop assault on a Tyranid-infested world. So this guy's been surviving by his wits, and his armor's kind of like all messed up. He's got scars all over his all over his face. I'm not the biggest fan of Phobos armor, but I quite like this miniature.
Do you remember the old Chaplain Tyrannic War veterans that were like the original Sternguard? Like I say, obviously, like this is what that reminds me of. Without it doesn't say it in those 2 lines of text, so I'm going to claim it. It reminds me of that, and I really like it. I really like the Tyrannid like shoulder pad being added. Like I love like derpy stuff like that. I just don't like the poison on the knife. It just didn't do it for me.
The drippy bits. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Other than that,
speaking of Sternguard, we've got Sternguard up next. I think this harkens back to like they're going back to their original design roots, because you're starting to see like older armor marks infiltrate their way into the newer Primaris kits, because the older Space Marine kits would mix and match very freely between armor marks, Mark 6, Mark 7, whatever. Because they were ancient relics, and intact suits of armour were incredibly hard to come across because they'd just been broken and beaten up and bastardised over the years. So it is nice seeing that the Primaris are almost going back to that aesthetic. You've seen this monomolecular studs on the shin pad. You're starting to see Mark 7 helmets and other design features work their way through into them.
I really like how he's holding the heavy bolter as well.
Like,
this is like such a minor feature, but
and it reminds me of Aliens, the chicken aliens, and just blazing away.
Yeah, exactly. I ain't got time to bleed.
Badass.
I know that's a Predator line for everyone there yelling at me.
Downvote. Yeah. I think, I mean, a lot of the set goes back to the aesthetic established that we all know and love, and I think the Dreadnought was an attempt to do that as well. Sorry, I'm skipping over a couple of bits and pieces because I really want to talk about the Gene Stealer redesign.
Right. Well, why didn't we just start with that, you fool?
Yeah.
So Dreadnought, what do you think of the Dreadnought? I like it. I would like to use it as Castaferum with knees. Like, I really like it.
Me too. A student mentioned that it would look great as a Castaferum if it didn't have knee pads. So like if you cut out that knee section and kind of give it more of like a waddling stance like it used to.
I like the knees. I like the knees.
You like knees? You're a knee guy.
I'm a knee. I mean, yeah, I'm really into knees.
Really into knees. You detail them, add heraldry, add weathering.
No, he's just unwrinkled knees. You can tell a lot about a model.
You can tell a lot about a man as well. Right, okay, moving swiftly on.
So next, are we doing the Infernus squad?
Yeah.
Or can I just give a one-liner?
Yeah, one-liner.
Oh, really like the flamers. I like it's an interesting flamer design and somewhat different. Yeah, like it.
Yeah, I agree. Big thumbs up on the Space Marine line. I think a big thumbs up on the Tyranid range overall. This range has been begging out for a redesign, and I feel like they're going to really roll out the red carpet for them like they did the Necrons back in the Indomitus box set, I think it was. So I think we'll be seeing it just from the ground up. We've already seen Gaunts, we've seen the Homer Gaunts. Now we're starting to see a few of the characters and some of the bigger beasts. So the Winged Tyranid Prime, Alpha Beast.
Are you going to force me to skip over all these because you said you wanted to get to the Gene Stealers?
I really want to talk about all of them as well.
Start with it. Yeah, well, we can do it all.
Okay, should we say what is your favourite of the Tyranid release? And we'll talk about those in depth.
So, there's two.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the Winged Prime, but only if you say this. You can
have two. You can have two. I'm just making.
But the Leapers as well. Like
only two.
The Winged Prime and the Leapers, with an honourable mention to the Screamer Killer.
Leapers.
But you're going to have to say that one.
Okay, I'm going to say the Neuro Tyrant.
Okay.
Because that looks just like a crazy, crazy kit. That looks nightmarish.
Yeah.
It looks like a piece of artwork, and the artwork, the paint job they've given as well, it looks like the old black and white designs from 3rd edition.
It reminds me of a massive face hugger.
Yeah.
Go on, what 3rd edition?
Oh yeah, like the black and white designs in 3rd edition. I'm struggling to remember who the artist's name was, but he did like these. It's not Mark Collins. He did these really harsh, angular pieces of art. he did a lot of the Chaos Marine stuff. He did a lot of the art in the 3rd edition main rulebook, and this the harsh lines used by the paint studio to get them. Yeah, it's such a good kit, And got the Screamer. Let's have a look at the Von Ryan's Leapers.
Yeah.
So this is a real deep cut. I didn't realise this. This was mentioned in the 3rd edition book. So in one of the history sections where they detail Xenos and like other worlds, they mention
Astartes.
It could be. Yeah. I think it's in the main rule book where they mention like other Tyranid forms. It could be an Index Astartes. I'm not really sure. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody snapped it. But yeah, this is an old piece of lore that they've dredged up.
Yeah, the kits I think look really interesting. Like sort of the midway between like Gene Stealer and Tyranid Warrior size. Like, I think he's going to give a lot of opportunity to. Not that you can't put smaller models next to like trees and stuff on bases, but this is like such a weird thought because I don't know where it's come from. But I think it's going to give a lot of opportunity to have them blended into like a nice like base piece.
Okay, like they camouflage, like they almost
stuff like that, like jungle piece and stuff on the bases, like, and I think it will look really good for like ripping through a jungle.
Yeah, so I have seen like people 3D printing Lictor miniatures, but in see-through resin, and that looks freaking great. That looks great.
So what you're saying is don't buy these by clear.
Don't just 3D. I mean, it looks nice enough, but yeah, just 3D print the miniatures. 3D print a lot.
Thanks, Games Workshop. Let's try and get into the next fest for free.
Yeah. Sponsor us, GW. Yeah, we want to be influencers. Send us the free stuff beforehand.
Okay, so yeah, that's the Von Ryan's Leapers. Now, are you excited for 10th edition?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm being, because I was really excited for 9th edition as well. I'm not sure whether the advertisement is working on me. I'm a sucker for advertisement anyway. But it does feel like they've made a genuine effort to streamline the system. I mean, having all the units, like entries on a single card, because like I'm a father of 2, I work a full-time job. I mean, it's not much of a job. I paint miniatures for a living, but it's still a job. I still work full-time. I don't want to have to feel like I'm undergoing a law degree to understand the rules of a game and then turn up to a game and just be obliterated. So it is nice, the ethos and the execution from what I've seen so far. And what's really interesting, what's really nice is that from day one, you'll be able to download the rules for free, and each army will have its own faction cards. So from day dot, you can either buy the cards or download them all off Games Workshop for free. I think that's a really nice touch by them. It's something they should have done years ago. But it's just these nice little touches that's building the excitement for me for 40k.
Yeah. They seem to be speaking the right sort of advertising language to get me interested in it, as you said. Like it's those little bits that have previously put me off editions of 40k. Because obviously we both, like I've played 40k in the past, even though my main game's Heresy.
Yeah,
played it in the past. That's what got me into Heresy. Is liking that universe.
Yeah,
and it's just, and I'm now 40k curious again.
Me too, and it's a cool universe as well because it's not just Marines versus Marines. Dare I say that?
The best thing about Heresy is that it's a closed loop, right?
Yeah.
But the worst thing about Heresy is that it's a closed loop. Yeah. And it's this incredible strength that Heresy has, but also. It's its biggest it's weird. It's its biggest weakness as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's this lack of variety.
I think from a painter's perspective as well, it's the Heresy aesthetic. It's very set in its ways. It's very much mired in grimdark, oil weathering, oil streaks, that kind of thing. Sometimes you just want to paint like a really big, beautiful peacock of an autarch for an Elder collection. Sometimes you want to experiment. Yeah. And that's what the Elder allow you to do, anything goes.
I was going to go for a squig.
Squig, yeah, a squig, like something big and daft like that. or like doing something. I mean, I love Gundam, so let's do Tau. You know, 40k is much more of like a sandbox of like whatever goes. But Heresy, like you say, is much more closed loop, much more of a direct path to do certain things, to do certain. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's
speaking
40k.
of like just completely. Yeah. Speaking of completely different things. Do you want to go? So obviously, like, there's been multiple reveals for multiple games across the weekend.
Yeah.
Do you want to build up to like sort of today's releases, which is the Old World and Heresy?
So, in all honesty, I don't think I'd have much enthusiasm to talk about Weird Hollow, Middle Earth, even though the release for that is phenomenal. Warcry, the Free Guild Cavaliers, I could talk about, but I think we should
Free Guild Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think we should concentrate our conversation on the Old World and Heresy, if you're okay with that.
Right. Well, let's start off with the Old World, Free Guild Cavaliers. So, Free Guild Cavaliers, honestly, mate, this is one of my favourite releases across the entire weekend.
Yeah, me too.
So, Free Guild Cavaliers, I'm not that interested in Sigmar. Fantasy and rank and flank, and like the skirmish model of gaming, my itch is already scratched enough by sci-fi stuff. But what I really like these for is I looked at the main model. Are you on the screen of the 5 knights, or are you on the singular?
I'm on the screen with the guy with the axe and the shield, but I could put it on. Let me find.
Right.
So when it comes up, they only do 2 at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked at these, and essentially I looked at them and thought, like, Knights of More. These are amazing for... Obviously, Empire Knights is what they've been based off. But specifically, what came to my mind was Knights of More. And that's because of... There's this skull mask and skull motif throughout. And 2 of them have skull masks. And in the 6th edition White Dwarf Knightly Orders list that was in White Dwarf, 2 of the knights had, like, I think it was Necron helms as their Knight of More helm. And these have got skull helmets, and they've got this really muted atmosphere about them. So they're the Death Knights. I really like...
They have a real wartime feel to them, don't they?
For use.
Yeah, they have a real wartime feel to them, right the way throughout the design, through to the colour palette chosen by the artist as well. The proportions... okay, so gonna have a little bit of a throwback here. Oh boy, have we come a long way.
Oh, that 5th edition Knight of the Realm?
Yeah, I've just got this scratch I need to itch right now when it comes to fantasy. I've got this on the workbench as well. I need to paint these up. I don't know whether I want to flesh them out to a full collection, but right now I need to paint this.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, but looking at the proportions of the horse and the tail flicking out of the back, the level of detail and expertise. There are some sculpts you can really tell the artist loved creating, and they went that extra mile in crafting it and making sure the proportions were correct. And the artist, who painted these, can you see like the dappling towards the end of the feet on the legs? On any of them. On
any of them?
Yeah. So the dappling of the horse's legs.
Yeah.
Like the paint scheme, how it changes, how it modulates.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And I think these would be ones, like, I think the barding can get a bit busy on some of them. But
yeah.
Like only on 1 or 2 though. Like, whereas I think they've got lots of space for that sort of more heavily armed than Bretonnian knights, which are they're only heavy armor miles. Whereas these clearly like full plate.
Yeah.
And even the barded, and they look really good for that step up from Bretonnians.
They do, and what's really nice to see as well
from that range.
Yeah, what's really nice as well. So this is part of the Free Cities faction within Sigmar, which felt like a dumping ground for a lot of the legacy units in Warhammer Fantasy that they were still producing. But seeing the design choices on this, it's really nice to see that this is becoming a faction in and of itself, like a fully fleshed out, realised faction that people can enjoy rather than just use their old miniatures in AOS for. Shall we continue on the conversation with fantasy? Because that's what we are both. So this is something we are both really getting hyped up for. I mean, obviously, I'm painting like a high elf.
You're going to do them, Miles.
Oh, I don't know what to do.
You're going to do their models.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% painting them. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what faction to pledge for fantasy. But that's a conversation for another time. When this miniature was unveiled, I genuinely thought this was Cetra. The Tomb King miniature. Mm.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I did. It could just be a reimagining of it. Obviously, there's going to be lots of similarities between the Tomb Kings. It doesn't have the personal heraldry, and it's not on a chariot, because if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, he'd only ride around the chariot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it is Cetra now. What they said, I think it's just a lord, but it just shows.
I think it'd make a really good Cetra.
Yeah, but it just shows the level of design that they put into this. That I can mistake a lord for a special character.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I really like how they've posed the model. It's got that extra little bit rather than something that's going to fit into. It sounds like a negative, but it's a positive. It's going to stand out from the rank and file that are going to be in very similar poses. It's got that extra bit of care put into even the initial sort of setup of the model of the sculpt that I think I really like.
Yeah. A couple of the newer sculpts that I've seen, especially digitally produced, they have a horrible habit of robes not really going anywhere. So you'll see a robe lay flat on somebody's chest, but then they'll have, I don't know, like an orb poking up from underneath, and there's no volume indicating that it's underneath there. But with this piece, like, everything looks like it flows in the right direction. There looks like there's proper volumes to everything. It doesn't look like a cut and paste job they've done with this. No, they've really fleshed it out. And it's nice to see
them to get the range up, Miles.
Until they start pumping stuff out. It's really nice to see them on the bigger base as well. So this is something we've been talking about since the article was released. A couple of weeks ago, that all smaller bases are moving to at least 25 mil, and I wanted to future-proof this guy, so this is on a 25 by 25 base, and I have cheated a little bit. I haven't clipped off the connector, so I've raised it up slightly to give him a little bit more height, but I was really surprised just how good it looks on the 25 by 25, and it doesn't drown the miniature, and it's the same with this guy. He looks like he's on a 25 by 25. He doesn't look like he's being drowned by the surrounding area. And what's more important as well, it looks like he can actually fit in rank and file.
Yeah. Well, it's just that bit more freeing for the model, isn't it? I think it was a good thing when it happened to Space Marines, when Space Marines went, what was it, 25 to 32? Yeah. And I think it's a really good thing for these models. Like that. So I think it's more prevalent on the Bretonnian that we're going to look at in a second. But I think, with the scale, it's very obvious that that's a 25 base. I think if you've been playing fantasy for a bit, because the 20 mil with the feet of these models would have those feet overlapping the 20. So I still play 6th edition on the channel quite a lot, and you get the feet overlapping the 20s, and it's just that extra bit of space. That it gives it room to breathe, almost.
So trying to rank up blood letters, nightmarish task.
Yeah.
So having that larger base size, I think it can lead on to more dynamic miniatures, more dynamic sculpts. And speaking of dynamic sculpts, let's look at this Bretonnian that's just killed an orc and looking very pleased with himself about it.
Yes. Yeah. So, do you know what? I really like this model. It's interesting that they've done the model on foot, because other than some minority models of the Morning Star Bretonnian, Bretonnian model and Lords have always been on horseback, right? that you
Yeah,
need to take a
there's been
vow.
like the odd Warhammer Quest miniature. There have been knights on foot, but I think there was a Grail knight on foot. But they've always been the exception rather than rule.
Yeah, well, you needed to take a vow from 6th till 8th.
Mm-hmm.
You needed to take a specific vow to have them on foot, that got more expensive the more you
Right.
took. So it's very hard to take these armies on
Got
foot.
you.
So it's interesting that they've led I think the initial new model that they've actually not model that they've teased for Bretonians is on foot. So it's
They
either it's
did
complete
mention
coincidence or
they did mention something about like units of knights on foot. Am I just like fever dreaming that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't remember. But
There you go.
All I remember
Unless
is
a
4
rumour
ranks
is
of
born.
peasant bowmen. So
Yeah, missing
bows
teeth.
firing in 4 ranks.
Oh, did you see the artwork that they previewed as well? It looked really like the old. So Bretonian artwork has a little bit of storied history. I remember in the first edition of the Bretonian book, the knights were presented very cleanly and very heroically, but then in the other rule book that they did, the knights still had this strength and nobility about their bearing, but everything else was decrepit around them. Like the peasants were hunched over, the missing teeth rat infested. Look at the Grail pilgrims. And when you look at medieval armies, there would be few knights and a lot of peasants, and that's always how I've imagined a Bretonian force to look on the field. So I really like that they're bringing over that art style into this new edition.
Well, this is we had a conversation about this. I don't know whether you remember that. I thought that you should, if you do knights, you should be like, right, this is my unit of knights, and have only the knights in the picture, and then like, oh, this is my unit of Bretonian peasants, and in the forefront of the picture is the knights, and then in the background is the peasants.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Bretonian men at arms have always been my favourite part. I've actually got like 120 ready for this coming edition in boxes. So I'm going to do my initial. I'm just going to tell everyone, Mausolon is going to be my army, and it's going to be Bretonians and vampire counts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So however that manages to come about, I'll figure out a way. But to have them hordes of peasants with just like making the knights look pretty is or making them look more sinister, right? I think it's a brilliant piece of Bretonian stuff.
So my idea got for a Bretonian army, because you did yours, I'm going to tell people mine as well. I'd love to do a lord that comes from Albion. And him or his family, they land in Bretonia, and they've come on to become knights, but they've still got that feeling of a hinterland about them. So they cover themselves in fur, and they have a lot more peasant infantry than your normal household. And the wizard wouldn't be a female; it would be sort of like this crazy half-naked druid, like the Truth Slayer.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit like when the Romans came over and they tried to civilize Britain, right? And you had the people go cross pollination. Yeah, that's the idea of the rough idea.
You should do it in reverse, where how it's like the Albion coming over to the old world.
Exactly. Yeah, and trying to make themselves look more civilized. And I mean, I think anyway, we could go into this a lot, but. We need to move on swiftly from this, because this is a conversation
before we go down the rabbit hole.
Before we go down the rabbit hole, yeah. So that was the old world. Not really much information. We didn't get a roadmap for it. We were told that we aren't going to see a dearth of releases for it. Instead, that it would be supported with single characters or limited releases. So these merches are in resin, for example. A lot of the older stuff is going to see a re-release in the next edition, and there's been some spurious rumours out there that there won't be a core box, because that was answered in the Q&A. And it was cleared up on Twitter afterwards that core box is something that includes certain things. But he didn't say
like two
whether
armies in the thing, or what do you mean? Like main rule book, or What was this vicious rumor, Miles? Tell me.
So I read on Twitter, a guy in the Q&A, he said that there wouldn't be a core box set for it, but that was later disputed by Eddie, the presenter. He said no, like a core box is something like they did a small release of some Primaris Marines and some Necrons with a small starter pack, like rules release, and that is described as a starter pack or starter army. Whereas a box set is something like Indomitus or Horus Heresy box set. He said they don't know. He couldn't say what plans were, what was going to be released on day dot. I feel like I've muddied the water there a little bit.
That's good. You stick around till next week when we speculate further.
Yes, yeah, great, yeah. So there may or may not be a core box, but a lot of the older plastics are going to see a re-release. A lot of the core sets are going to, and every faction will be accounted for. They did say so. Every faction will get at least a rule set to begin play. I know that they're concentrating on a specific period in history and a specific part of the old world.
The Three Emperors, right? So
yeah,
that's at the time that it's just after the Vampire Counts Wars, and so your vampires aren't in Ascendancy. They've just been driven off. You've got, what is it? Magnus the Pious is it's after this. Oh no, Magnus Pious is before this. God, I don't want to get down this.
Yeah, the thing is, we're mudding it. Yeah, I really don't know my imperial history that much. I'm much more of like an elf timeline dude, reckoning time by the reigns of kings.
Well, it's the Todbringers are in Middenheim, so there would be a count of Middenheim as one.
Such a funny sentence.
The Todbringers.
The Todbringers are in Middenheim, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to bring their toddy justice
to
the rest of the Empire. But I think he's one of the three emperors, right? And then...
I really don't know about Empire history.
It's after... So Mordheim is 200 years before sort of like 8th edition current. So so it is around the time... It's been 100 years back. Mordheim has already been destroyed.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
But it'd be interesting to see if we get any sort of like... Because it won't be as chaosy.
They did say that they are going to bring characters from that time period. They are going to release models of them. And they did mention one character in particular that fans would be interested to see. And for the life of me, I have no idea who they're talking about.
It'll be an elf carrier character, won't it? Surely. Elf or maybe a very long-lived dwarf.
Wait, how old is Tyrion? Is he something like 200-300 years old?
No,
would he
he's
just
like
be born?
Isn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing. We should have done our research before we went on this.
No, we're doing new releases. We've got down a rabbit hole here. We've not
down the rabbit hole
about this Bretonnian model. So this Bretonnian model, and what's interesting here is back swinging all the way back.
Yeah.
What's interesting here is they also have an alternate head for this model.
Yes, they do.
That was shown on the Twitch screen, but not on this.
No.
You see, there's one thing here. I prefer the pose of the Tomb King's model. I think a very static, fixed model I'm not always the biggest fan of. What I do like is the big open plates, there's space to put your own heraldry on there, and there's space for the actual colours of the knight to come through with, like, basically just interesting space on the model that you can fill yourself. Like, it's something that I think a lot of the 3D print Kickstarters that I've seen tend to fill the model with too much detail. Yeah. And it's one thing that Games Workshop Knights do really well. Then, quite happy that they've been shown in the previews, because it means that, or it hopefully means those knights are coming back, because it allows you to do your own heraldry on those knights.
Yes,
that's one of the biggest gaps in the range that I find.
A little plug here. If you did want to learn the rules of Tinction and how they apply to 40k knights, you could sign up to Little Legend Patreon for $15 a month and gain access to the PDF. Anyway, Knight Lancers. Shall we get on to the Horus Heresy?
Yes. Well, shall we say this will be on one of our channels?
Yes.
This is so professional. Cut through. This is on one of our channels. We don't know yet which, because it's not professional yet. It might be next time, maybe. Is what we'll do. We'll move over there now for the Heresy, and we will hopefully we'll have linked in the outro of this vid about to pop up, the link to the next channel vid, and it will hopefully play on autoplay.
hopefully, yes. If you'd like to like and subscribe and hit that button and leave a comment and give us a like and
Press
share
the bell
it.
icon.
Press the bell icon. Yeah, do all that good stuff. Because we are YouTube stuff, because we are seedlings at the moment, just grasping for the light. So please shine down on us.
Yeah, basically, we'll let us know that everyone wants this sort of content from us. Like we are pissing into the wind right now. Help us not blow back on us.
What a great way to end the show. Let's leave it like that. Okay.
No, it's not ending the show. Mid part of the show. See you on the next channel. Bye.
Go to the next channel. Bye. Bye. Bye.